Good morning, y'all. Josh of Severe Weather. Happy Thursday to you. We are finally drying out in the southeastern United States this morning and cooling off as well. We had a nasty couple of days of severe weather, especially 2 days ago across Texas and Louisiana. Fortunately, yesterday turned out to be a little more benign than maybe it could have been. We didn't quite get all the ingredients to line up, but still some tornado warnings last night in parts of eastern North Carolina and a lot of rain as well. I know personally my mud was getting dehydrated, so the rain was welcome. Okay, I'm just kidding about that. I think we're all kind of getting sick of how I'm gonna say crappy this winter has been here in the east and especially the south for winter weather, but I think that's going to change some here next week. So I want to go ahead and share my screen with you and talk about what is on the table for us here. Some shifting in the storm track finally. Now, probably not going to be like this way all of February, but at least the kind of the beginning of February, we do see some much colder air starting to shift from the Rockies into eastern Canada and then shifting down. That's going to push our storm track farther south into Texas and parts of the deep south. We're going to be in a tug of war. It's still going to be mild across the Gulf Coast states and turning wet as well. A couple of storms moving through next week. Severe threats aren't going to be as high next week. Heavy rain threats, though, could still be with us, so flooding could be a problem. But the area I've got highlighted in white here, I believe, is going to see not one, but maybe two potential storm systems which could produce some sort of wintry precipitation. And this could shift north and south. We're talking about a week out from now, so obviously still some time for things to change. But a lot of us here in the Mid-Atlantic region into the Carolinas have not seen any winter yet. And I do think the probability will be increasing for that to change for at least some areas. Now, interestingly, the storm track may end up a little bit too far south to do a whole lot across New York City. So, well, we missed to the north, and now can we miss to the south? I just feel like, that's maybe just how things are going for the time being. But this again, it's a week out. Things could definitely change. If this track comes a little farther north, then we definitely could make up for some lost snow for those of you that really want to see it. So some very interesting weather setting up here over the next couple of weeks. We'll get to more details in just a little bit here. Right now, we do still have a storm in progress over New England and northern New York with heavy snow falling. That will very slowly pull away into eastern Canada later today into tonight. We have another winter storm getting ready to move from the Rocky Mountains into the Great Plains, and colder air funneling down from western Canada will mean this will produce some higher amounts of snowfall with the colder air in place. So in the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, we'll talk about that just a little bit. That is going to spread eastward into the Great Lakes region here as we get to the very end of this week and start of the weekend. And you'll see here the Winter Storm Severity Index from the Weather Prediction Center is moderate across the Great Plains as well as suburban Chicago and around the Great Lakes. A little bit of lake effect today as well as some snow coming in from the next system here over the weekend. We also still have a moderate snowstorm in effect here across northern, or moderate impacts across northern Maine, which means there'll be disruptions to travel. Travel will be dangerous, and there could be some closings and disruptions to infrastructure due to the fact that we've got some heavy snow falling here in New England and another heavy snowfall coming out of the Rockies here in the next couple of days. Here's a look at the HRRR, which shows you guys the heavy snow falling across Maine. It is switching over to rain along the coastline this morning. Very heavy rain falling across down east Maine. We are going to be drying out today, though, across New York City and eventually this afternoon across Boston. With the cold air funneling in behind this big storm, we see snow showers all the way down into southern Tennessee and possibly even sneaking into northern Alabama before tomorrow morning. So not much going to stick to the grass here. It's just novelty snowflakes at this point. But I do think we'll see accumulations in the mountains with that northwesterly flow. As well as a little bit of lake effect banding taking shape here over north central Indiana and southwest Michigan this morning. And that will actually shift a little bit more to the east, and parts of Ohio could see a little bit of accumulating snow here this afternoon. Also off of Huron, we'll see a little bit of snow across southwest Ontario, and that will cross over Lake Erie into southwestern New York. Not a major snow, but one that could be impactful, just something to kind of keep in mind. Then we start to see our next storm bringing some light snow into the Great Lakes region tomorrow. Not a huge deal at that point. The one behind it's the one that could produce some more significant snowfall. Totals from the HRRR, we see a foot or more of snow here in northern Maine, northwestern New Brunswick, and southeastern Quebec. We also will see the potential for an inch or two of snow around Lake Michigan on the eastern shore here and maybe an inch or so of snow across the West Virginia and Western Maryland mountains and locally across the Smokies as well. Not a big snowfall, but definitely could be some more intense bands here in southwest Michigan today and especially tonight. Our next storm system clips in from the west and produces some snow over northern Minnesota, Lake Superior region, upper Michigan, and then that spreads eastward as well. All right, so I'm going to talk about the longer term here, the next couple of weeks, and a pattern shift coming. The Arctic oscillation, which has been positive, which is why it's been such a warm January for a lot of the country, is predicted to drop negative here for the first few days of February, right on through the first weekend of February. So February 1st through the 5th, the control, of course, is going to be more wild than the mean, but the majority of the members of the European model are showing this negative AO, which means that the Arctic air that has been plaguing Siberia and China over the last couple of weeks will shift over the North Pole onto the Western Hemispheric side, which means colder air will be more of a supply here for at least about 5 days or so before it trends kind of more into a neutral and positive again, and we start to warm back up by the 10th of February. Let me come back to that. I want to talk about a couple other oscillations here. The Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the EPO, that has been strongly negative, meaning ridge in the east, trough in the west. That is going to very quickly change early next month. So right around February 1st, we see a trend more to a positive EPO, and that is going to allow more Arctic air to drop down into the central and eastern United States for about the first week or so of the month of February before kind of a more neutral. So a pattern flip coming here very quickly early next week. You guys can see that when the graph jumps 5 numbers here from -5 to 0, then we have a big flip coming. I want to show you guys the deterministic models. Now, the NAO, the North American Oscillation, when it's negative, it shows a Greenland block, meaning storms in the east are more common, East Coast storms, because there's blocking and allowing those storms to come up rather than get kicked out to sea. That, on the other hand, remains positive as we get to this weekend and next week. So that will rule out the likelihood of a big East Coast storm next week. That doesn't mean with the cold air we can't see snow, but a major East Coast storm, which you may be seeing on other videos on YouTube, does not look likely to happen. And all the models are an overwhelming majority that is going to be the case. So February starts out cold. It could start out unsettled, but a very, very small chance that we see any kind of major East Coast storm. Even the control model is still very marginal when it comes to that. The control run, of course, whereas the mean pretty much is all positive NAO. So our storms are going to be progressive. They're going to kick east pretty quickly and not move up the coast. Rather, they're going to kick eastward. So that rules out our chance for a big East Coast storm. The PNA, which is negative, is going to trend back towards positive, and that's going to allow more wintry weather to try to sneak into the southern United States. Try to is the key term here. We've got a lot of warm air in place over the Gulf and the Western Atlantic, strong ridging. But the fact that we are seeing this increase, at least, is more promising for the chances for wintry weather to start dropping south from where they've been over the last month. So something to watch here, but a neutral to slightly positive PNA means we will allow maybe at least a fleeting chance for some winter weather here, looking at between February 1st and about February 9th or 10th. All right, so the operational European shows our big storm moving out. This is tonight, and next Clipper system moving across northern Ontario and the Great Lakes will bring some light snow tomorrow into Saturday. Bigger storm with very cold air dropping down from Western Canada into the Rockies and the Northern Plains here Friday into Saturday morning. We will see accumulating snow moving into Chicago Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. But notice how these red lines here show a return flow of warmer, more humid air back into the Gulf Coast region. So it's not going to be a cold weekend in the southeast. It'll start warming back up for Sunday. As this Clipper shifts east, New England could see a snowfall here on Sunday, but the storm track is going to be moving up to the northeast. So again, we don't have cold air in place to produce a major East Coast storm. In fact, early next week, we may be looking at rain again here in the big cities of the mid-Atlantic and northeast. Now, at the end of the month of January, with this cold air dropping down and a more active storm track from California to the mid-Atlantic states, we do have a boundary that's going to serve as a focus for much colder air to the north and much milder, moist air to the south. Where that sets up right now on all the models looks like it'll be from west and northwest Texas across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and into the mid-Atlantic region. This run of the European shows accumulating snow finally for New Jersey and New York at the beginning of February. However, that is just one model run, and I'll go back and show you the previous run, and you'll see, oh, thank you, Weather Bell. You will see that this particular run of the model had everything farther north, which is a common track from what we've seen here recently. So there is a shift in the operational model by a couple hundred miles south, and that will probably continue to shift. We're still talking almost a week in advance here. However, areas farther south that have not seen really any wintry precipitation look to be in a better spot later next week and maybe next weekend for wintry precipitation. This is not an official forecast. This is 8 days out, 9 days out. But a big storm in the mid-Atlantic region is being shown by the European. However, this will likely change, and I'm not seeing strong model agreement just yet in that. The European, though, I will show you snow totals from this model because I think it's at least fun to look at. Let's see if it actually happens. No guarantees of that, but we see a pretty good area of coast-to-coast snow here from the Northern Rockies right across the Great Lakes and into New England here early next week. The next storm track, you can see it's now dropping down into the Central Plains and the Southwest, and this is next Tuesday, and this is next Wednesday, and this would be the first accumulating snow of the winter if correct, which, again, I'm not guaranteeing to you guys that it will be correct, but this would be Wednesday into Thursday, and then another wave coming across here Thursday into Friday, a little bit farther south into Virginia. So the European says snowstorm potential here in Virginia and Maryland, even the mountains of North Carolina. This could probably be some ice down here as well, but that's just one model run. The GFS does not agree, though, and I want to see more agreement before making any definite calls. You see the Clipper moving east here early in the weekend, the next storm with the Arctic boundary dropping through the Great Lakes here Saturday night and Sunday. And looks like rain for the big cities, rain for the Gulf Coast region, maybe some heavier thunderstorms. Probably not a big severe outbreak, though, at that point. Early next week, we see low pressure developing in Texas on Tuesday, pulling down some cold air with it, but this is not significant accumulating snow. You can see the upper low is back here, and all the moisture feed is out ahead of it, so we aren't getting these two to phase together and produce a major storm, at least for the first half of next week. But you can see there is a potential at least for some light snowfall here in the Northeast by Tuesday of next week. So maybe New York and New Jersey and Philly could see their first accumulating snow. We've seen that now on the GFS and the European, so at least there is that chance. And then a colder air mass, you can see this trough here in eastern Canada drops down and supplies colder air to the Northeast, and that is going to get trapped here east of the Appalachians. With warm air surging out of the Gulf of Mexico, there's going to be a pretty good battleground here for snow and ice, which I believe will be starting out in Texas and then carrying right across the middle of the country. This shows rain for Tennessee going over to snow, rain for North Carolina going over to snow and freezing rain sometime on Thursday into Friday, but accumulating snow across the mid-Atlantic region for the first time this winter. I don't think in South Carolina, Georgia, and the Gulf Coast region we're dealing with any wintry weather. I realize that over the weekend the GFS model had it way down to the south, but I think since then a lot of the models have come into at least a bit more of a common understanding that it is still too warm in Florida, too warm on the coastal Carolinas, and too warm in the central Gulf Coast region for anything but rain, unfortunately, for those of you that want to see winter weather. But this is a little bit more promising here for the Carolinas, at least North Carolina and Virginia, before we warm back up here the week after next. GFS snow totals, you guys can see pretty good agreement with the European on where our accumulating snow is going to be this weekend over the Great Lakes, southern Ontario into northern New England, same place it's been every other single storm. And then early next week, Tuesday into Wednesday, we've got a cutter that drops some snow from Oklahoma into West Virginia and maybe Maryland and maybe even the Northeast, although amounts are not super high. As we get on into Wednesday and Thursday, that moves out, but we've got another wave that could produce maybe a more significant snow. So the European and the GFS operational agree that there's going to be accumulating snow in the mid-Atlantic region here at the end of the week. The timing is different, the amounts are different, but the notion that there will be some snow is certainly taking some shape here across this region. And that does include Tennessee, albeit your amounts are going to be lighter here. That moves out, and then that's the end of it for us before you can see that track shifts quickly to the north for the following weekend into the following week as well. Temperature anomalies on the European, you guys can see here, while it is mild in the northeast now and into the beginning of the weekend, we see much colder air spreading eastward and very cold with respect to average here over parts of the Rockies. We're going to be looking at sub-zero temperatures at night early next week for the first time since right before Christmas time. That cold drops south into Texas and the western Gulf states, but does modify some. And it looks like it'll be chilly by the end of next week, all the way down into northern Florida, and really all the way down to South Florida by the end of next weekend. But this is not the kind of cold that's just going to lock in and stick with us. It does warm right back up the following week. We're just looking at maybe a 3 to 4 day cold snap. And of course, a pretty good gradient here is going to make all the difference for where the storm track goes. You see this battleground between 15 degree above average temperatures on the southeast coast to 25 degree below average over the Great Plains. In between the two, a very strong contrast. So there will definitely be a storm zone corridor setting up in here, but a big question mark as to the details of how that's going to evolve still. This is the ensemble European. I just want to show you the average of the models so you guys can see we're not favoring any one operational run, but you all can see that by the first part of next week, the storm track is over the Ohio Valley into the northeast, and then that shifts southward. You can see over Tennessee into the mid-Atlantic at the end of next week. And then by the weekend, we see an end to the wintry weather and a return of more northerly snow tracks for the following week. The GFS ensemble is kind of in the same boat here. It's got accumulating snow here in the same area we've talked about from basically Idaho and Wyoming to New England here over the weekend. And then next week, the next storm track drops south closer to St. Louis and into the lower Great Lakes and the Northeast. Not really on the ensembles, though, a major snowfall for Boston, New York, or Philadelphia from this round. The wave behind it, you guys can see. Now, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in this. There's maybe one model run showing some snow all the way down here. That's probably kind of the same solution as last week, what we saw. But the average is farther south over the mid-Atlantic region, eastern Kentucky, maybe Tennessee here. And this would be Thursday into Friday of next week. And then by the weekend, that chance for snow will start shifting northeastward, and we see a milder pattern the following week. So definitely some chances here. The GFS temperature forecast on the ensembles, you can see that cold air locking in over the weekend. It is not as cold as the European, but it is definitely still cold. You can see the gradient shifting southeastward here next week, and then it warms right back up for the middle of February across the eastern U.S., and the cold stays locked into the northwest. So yeah, now our probability for snow over the coming weeks here, we can see that even parts of the upper Midwest may miss out on much snow here through this weekend and early next week. We see the line dropping south again, though, early next week, getting close to New York City by the middle of next week, and then dropping down into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and now sneaking down into Virginia and the mid-Atlantic by the end of next week. So potential for an inch of snow to accumulate is starting to increase here, 30%, 40%. It's not high, but it is higher than we've seen in about a month. So we'll talk more about that in the coming days. Again, we're looking at something that's 6 to 8 days out. Giving you guys an exact forecast right now would be kind of foolish. I know it's going to change, but I will post you guys with daily videos, except for this Sunday, on what to expect here with next week's change in the weather pattern that's coming. If you could like this video, leave some comments for me or ask me any questions. I will do my best to answer those. And I would appreciate it if you're not a subscriber, if you could subscribe to Josh's Severe Weather's YouTube channel. I'll continue to update you on next week and what it looks like as far as potential winter weather. I'm not saying there couldn't be a big storm at the end of next week. That's definitely possible, but it's still too early to make that call. But videos next week are going to dive more into what that looks like. So I really appreciate y'all's time. I want to thank you, as if you are a subscriber, I want to thank you for your continued support here. I want to give all the glory, though, to God through his son, Jesus Christ, as a Christian man. I just want to let you all know that. If you followed me, you know that I am very bold and passionate about my faith. And I appreciate that I've been called to be a meteorologist. but also called to share my faith with you guys. That's the gift that God has given me, Romans 8:28. I want to read to you guys real quick from Jude 1:17 to 23. Jude says, a call to persevere. It says, but dear friends, remember what the apostles of our Lord Jesus Christ foretold. They said to you, in the last times there will be scoffers who will follow their own ungodly desires. These are the people who divide you, who follow mere natural instincts and do not have the Spirit. But you, dear friends, by building yourselves up in your most holy faith and praying in the Holy Spirit, keep yourselves in God's love as you wait for the mercy of your Lord Jesus Christ to bring you eternal life. Be merciful for those who doubt. Save others by snatching them from the fire. To others show mercy mixed with fear, hating even the clothing stained by corrupted flesh. And I just want to share a personal story for you guys. For the first 30 years of my life, I was not a Christian. Actually, I was brought up in a household where my father was Jewish and my mother was Catholic, and we all kind of ended up going in a different direction away from God. And I stayed that way through my 20s, and I was kind of a miserable person, just to be honest. But because of this verse, I had some people in my life that cared about me, that instead of pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, they were merciful to me as a doubter. And they just kind of showed me, gave me a window to learn God. And things in my life changed very quickly when I was about 30. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I was shown God and decided that it was time to make a change. It was time to believe in God and to accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. It's taken me about 10 years. I'm 40 years old now, but now I have the courage to share that gift that was given to me with you if you are not a believer. So there is no scoffing. There is no division here. I want to encourage you and bring everybody together. That is my goal as a Christian man. And I just wanted to share that verse with you today because I think it's really important. Anyway, I just wanted to share that and get that off my chest. I just feel the more that I can be open with you all, the more that people will accept me. And even if you don't accept me, that's okay, because I have been accepted by God, and Jesus Christ is there for me eternally. And I really pray that he is for you as well. If you have any prayer requests, please list them in the comments. I'm happy to pray for you. And I wish you all have a great, safe day, and God bless you. We'll talk tomorrow.